August. I mean, they're good until August, but it's
We'll meet in order.
Yeah.
We'll take our time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Call this meeting in order. All stand and face the flag. Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Maybe see. Roll call. Rick Luther.
present.
R.J. Donovan.
Here.
Tim Yocum's present. Approval of minutes.
Making motion that we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
I'll second the motion to approve claims.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approval of payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll.
I'll second the motion to approve the payroll.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Move right on. Open issues. First of all, I have a Treasury report here that I'm going to read. Very brief. Total printouts here if anyone wants to see it. For the month of April, the interest from Trust Indiana was $465.70, and from First Financial was $2,145.12. So that's a report. If you want to see it, it's here. I can give it to you. Health Department update. The Health Department here. I guess I'm not going to read this update. I have them. COVID-19 update. Vermilion County Health Department. Total number of positive cases from May 1st to May 22nd is 34. Fully vaccinated Vermilion County residents is 4,766. It's probably about a third, I think, of the population. The Indiana Department of Health has sent 60 doses of Pfizer vaccine for ages 12 to 17, and administered about 25 in that age group. We are administering Moderna to adults ages 18 and up. Both vaccines are 2 doses. Moderna at 28 days and Pfizer is 21 days after the first dose. We could order both as demand increases. Attached is a map that shows the map of Indiana where Vermilion County stands as far as the vaccine, and this will be posted outside if you want to see it. And, we're in blue right now, and that's very, very good. Okay. Moving right along, the Vermilion Rise is off through here.
Evening, everybody.
Evening.
So I wanted to provide you a copy of this water service agreement. You know, you might recall, gosh, a ton of time has passed between when you all got the Army to run a water line to the jail to now where we want to actually run a potable water line over there. So, and as we say at the Rise so often, that the few things there are conventional or straightforward. So we took just a run. You guys want to take one and pass those down. That's a draft agreement. We talked about this last week at our board meeting. I think basically one of the key considerations there was to think about doing this in bite-sized pieces. So this agreement endeavors, solely to get a potable water line to the jail, because that's between Rise and the county jail. We talked about some things with Hillsdale and this and that brings another party to the agreement, and we just thought let's just get this done, and then we can bite on the other pieces later with subsequent agreements with whatever parties need to be involved in that. So if you go through that, you'll see that we included, we would pay for the upsizing of the line. We talked about that sort of on our side of 63 we had commercial development out front, it might be nice to have a 6-inch, and then go back to the engineer's original 4-inch under the highway to the jail. That was their specs. We talked about a 5-year term, automatically renews, so that's toward the back of the agreement. We talked about basically, there's a map in there, and basically, these improvements, the new improvements, everything from where our property stops and Indiana 63 begins, back toward the rise, that's all our utility equipment. We own it, operate it, whatever. Everything from that point under the highway and to you guys would be Vermillion County's responsibility.
Once it left your property.
Pardon? Once it left our property. And one of the nuances there is that the existing, my understanding, fire service water line was installed by the county some time ago at the Army's approval. But again, we would sort of take over that. Again, just thinking if it's on our property, I think we talked about with the board, we'd rather control it if it's agreeable. That way, if there's a development, we can access fire or potable water and accommodate a customer and not have to maybe come back and have some other discussions. Same way on your side of the highway, if you're going to do some things, you control those infrastructure improvements and can make future accommodations. So I think as we discussed, maybe John could look at this and this and that. I'm confident we're going to reach an agreement if you guys have some certain things that you want to insert in there and need. I can't imagine that reuse authority wouldn't be accommodating in that regard. So that's what I wanted to share this evening, particularly.
Have you sent this to anyone else with?
Well, it's been something by committee. Lou, our attorney, kind of had his hand in it, and Eric Smith with HWC, and so there might be some things. Toward the end of the day, we just saw some terminology that was inconsistent. Tried to clean it up a little bit. But those folks have seen it, and Eric's, I think, pretty confident from just the standpoint of the project, and I think they're pretty much done with their 95% engineering of the improvements to get water into the new mechanical room of the new facility. And then also included, I should say, we included it's referenced in the agreement, our water rate ordinance amended 2014. So that's in there since it's the same water rate we've been having. But we just put it in there since it's referenced. And then the map also is just for reference to kind of visualize the project.
Some of you might not know what we're talking about, so I was going to say something about it real quick. The current jail now is supplied raw water. It has no treatment. We have treatment there. I think we treat with the ultraviolet light, and that's one way we treat. And so, therefore, we're getting raw water into our jail, and we're taking the responsibility of making that potable and drinkable. And the whole thing that since we was doing this jail project, why not resolve that issue? That issue's been around since the jail's been there. And so I don't think the jail ought to have the responsibility of messing with maintaining quality water that, when someone else, you guys can provide that if we do the right thing. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get potable water to the jail. And it needed to be done years ago, but this was a good opportunity time to include in. I see you got rates on here too.
Yeah, I think that's all pulled out of that rate ordinance.
Okay, so we as a county jail, there's no changes here other than what the contract we have.
No, but I will say that what we say in the agreement is that basically like any other customer, you pay the rate that we determined, and I think some point in the near future, we will need to raise that rate at 250 a 1,000 gallons. It's just an incredibly low rate, and we just, at least begin to try to catch up and be sort of in the mean or median point of a conventional rate for a small utility.
But if we have potable water, that makes the water more valuable to us also.
Well, that's a good point, yeah.
So,
And we got to do a public notice, and anytime you change rates, you got to go through a process.
anyone here got any questions about that process or what we're doing? What we got planned on that?
Is the water now not potable?
No, never has
It's
been.
delivered, and as Tim said, then it's treated with ultraviolet light and chlorine at the jail. So any water that's consumed in the jail is treated.
Non-potable.
Not potable.
Non-potable water.
Yeah, it's before treatment. That line was put over mainly for
But
fire
to
protection.
be clear, the inmates drink treated water.
Which is also potable.
Yeah.
Okay,
But we're
we do have potable water that the inmates are drinking.
Yes, but I'm saying the
Okay.
supply there is the supply
No,
to
that's
the.
all I wanted.
Yeah, supply to the building is not potable water.
But what's coming out of the faucets and used is potable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought maybe.
But it's putting a responsibility on the jail to take care of that question, and I don't think we as a jail need to be messing with that. I mean, why don't we just get the potable water over there they test every
No, I
day?
agree, but you said there was not potable water at the jail. That's where I was.
It's not, there is not potable water to the jail, there's potable water after it's in the jail.
Right.
Tim, we get a water report at the health department, and it's perfect, after the treatment, but you're very true, it'd be better to come in and get them out of that. But their last inspection was done 2 months ago, and it was A-okay. Everything fit, so no problem.
But it's a risk that we, as a jail and a county, should not be accepting.
Right.
And so we're eliminating that. Anybody else got any questions for Bob Druid? Got anything else to say about the rise?
Well, we just did a lot of housekeeping last meeting, cleaned up some TIF items and extended a lease here and there. So I think that was about the high
I want
points.
to say thank you for opening up your facilities there to our economic development meeting and the other meeting we had.
Yeah, it was good.
It was nice. And
That's
I
good.
think that.
And what I should say, we're going to hear, Les and Tom, they did pitch a continuation of the marathon event, and we certainly want to do that too. I think everybody recognizes it was exceedingly successful and can only just continue to grow.
Right. Good. Okay.
Thanks.
All this information is up here if anybody wants to see it after the meeting. It's here to be viewed. Okay, let me get back on track here. I got it right here. Okay, Vermillion Trails Association, you're next.
I'm not ready to do the bid wording.
Had it covered up.
Yeah, post- I just wanna table that.
We can announce where we're at on it.
Okay, I would like to bring you, first of all, up to date on what's going on. I'm going to be talking to you tonight about our Hillsdale project when I get done. And
Do you have another one of these you could just hand out and they can pass it around if someone wants to see it?
I got one.
But-
I've been there, done that.
Hand it out back there and let, we
One of them I
got,
wanna look at it, or?
just pass it around. So if anybody wants-
just an update on where we're at on the project. As you all know, you were the applicants for that project. You own the property. We are just managing and facilitating the project for you. And so I'm happy to report that we have our final permit in place. We have to wait now due to some regulations and conditions of the permits. We have to wait until June 30th to begin construction because we have to put in a creek crossing, a temporary creek crossing, and we cannot do that until the fish spawning season is over. Okay? So we are getting ourselves prepared. We have a meeting actually with the engineers next week. We're going to be discussing our construction schedule, our bidding process. We're going to try to get this broke down into biddable pieces, and we're going to start out, and hopefully we can knock this thing out before winter comes. That's our plan. So that's your update on the current project. Any questions on that?
What'd you do about the bridge going across the creek? Did you, that plan or whatever that Rose Holman got involved in?
That's where we're going next. Any questions on the current project?
I thought that was part of the current project.
No, the
Start
current
with.
project, if you'll recall, the first thing that happened is they put the bridge. Folks over in Park County decked that bridge. And then we acquired the grade running over to CSX. So now we have a bridge, from a bridge to nowhere. The current project gives us a trail to nowhere. And we got that grant funding for that trail. That's the one we're going to construct. If you look at your map, and this is a very crude sketch that I just kind of threw together for you, just so that we can refer to it and have questions. But if you look at the map, going down the right side of the map is the Wabash River, going down the left side of the map is the CSX Railroad. Going across the top of the map is the current project, which is the railroad grade. On the left-hand side of that current project, there's a little round circle. That's called a pod. That's going to be poured concrete with a picnic table on it. That's the terminus of the trail at this point in time. So this is what I want to talk to you about. Any questions on that update? So here's my next thing for you.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
The funding on that, you got funding for economic development for how much money?
$37,500.
And then you got a match, and it came out to $180,000.
That was the match, and that matched $150,000 from the Wabash River Heritage Corridor Commission. Total project, $187,500.
Right. That's what I was saying. I was trying to bring that back in. I remember it was earlier, but I wanted to clarify on that. So I'm just trying to let everybody know you guys do have the funds.
Oh yeah, we got funds, and I'll remind you that we prevailed on the county council to be the funding agent for that project. And I think, Brenda, here you've familiarized yourself with that process, right? We've been through one reimbursement already. But the county is paying for this up front, and they're getting reimbursed on the backside. And that's working well, right? We got all the mechanics of that worked out, so thank you. Any other questions? So here's what we want to talk about today. Going to that Rose Holman thing. We had Rose Holman out there, and we looked at a project, okay, starting at that little round circle on the current project on the left-hand side. We want to come south on the dotted line along and adjacent to the railroad tracks all the way down to the public crossing there at Alta. Okay? That's our plan. We have verbal commitments from both landowners that they will transfer that property to us, a 30-foot strip. So that's our first big hurdle, and we've gotten over that hurdle. I didn't get time to get these in your packets, but I've given John here, I've given him copies of the option letters. We've had option to purchase letters prepared. So our request to you, and the next part of this thing is we want to make application under this current round of the Next Level Trails program. It's a state program. We don't know what the kind of the range of the cost of this next segment will be, but we're thinking somewhere in the $500,000 range. The next segment of this thing that will get us out to a public crossing and across the railroad is what we're talking about today. So our plan again is to go along the railroad tracks down to the public crossing, and then if you look at the very bottom of your map on the left-hand side, you see that little cross-hatched area there? That would become a trailhead. And that's included in this option to purchase. So we've done a lot of work on this up to this point. So we want to lean on you all to take possession of this project. We would like you to become the applicants for this grant, and we would like you to own this property, just like you own the other one, just like you're the applicants for the other project, and we will manage the project for you. So that's our request to you tonight. I don't know if you will give us an answer tonight. We'd like to have that so we can start moving forward. The grant application deadline is December 1st. If you all decide to go along with us on this, we got a lot of work to do to get this thing put in order. We did have Rose Hallman out. If you'll notice, we have to, starting from the little circle, the pod at the end of our current project, to get to the dotted line that indicates the proposed trail, we have to cross Little Raccoon Creek. So we're talking about a 300 foot, something like that, bridge, 300 to 400 foot bridge. So this is not going to be a little cheap little project. This is going to be a big project. But if we can pull this project off, if we can get grant funding for it, we'll be out. We'll be across the tracks. We'll be on public highways. This will get it that way. I mean, my goal in my life is I want to ride my bike from my house to the Tasty Freeze.
You can do that right now, just go on 36.
No, I can't. I take my life in my hands by going 36.
Yeah.
And I mean that. I mean, that's funny, but I mean that. That's my personal goal.
I think we can probably make an agreement in principle of some sort until we actually see the documents in hand as to the...
You have the options to purchase. We have property descriptions for you. What we need from you is to consent, and they're made out for your signatures for the county to own this. We're not presuming anything. We're asking you if you would consider taking possession of this land. And I see at some point in time, I see a linear, they call them linear parks.
Yeah, the Natchez Trail is that way.
Yeah, take possession of the land and also become the applicant for the grant.
Have you had a chance to look this over, John, or you just received it?
I just got it, so I haven't read it thoroughly.
And I apologize, I didn't have it in time. We had that prepared, Joel West prepared that for us pro bono.
What I would
Because Joel is a member of our group and he's helped us out a lot.
is let us look at this and bring it back up next meeting, 2 weeks, bring it back again.
Is there a timeline issue?
That fits our timeline. That's not a problem, but we need an answer relatively soon because the grant application process is long and hard.
The thing that we try to do is when somebody brings something here, we like to read it, think about it next meeting.
I think you should.
Yeah,
I think
it's
you
just
should.
too.
And I think you all,
And
the public this needs to be in the paper.
Yeah,
It's
too. I don't say anything wrong. We're all in favor for you guys. Just a process of here for me to have my mind clear.
Yeah.
I just need some time.
I couldn't agree more, and I think part of the grant application process will be to have some public hearings. And I recall we had public hearings in Hillsdale for the current project, and that was when the old Clintonian was still here. But we ran ads, we ran all of that stuff, and we had a decent turnout.
What type of, you got some type of projected cost of this total, of the grant application?
It's
And-
with a bridge, it's gonna be.
I mean, you're asking us to do something, and we don't know what that is.
We're asking you to own the project and own the property. If everything plays out like the current project is playing out, there won't be any cost to the taxpayer.
So there's no matching on the grant?
Oh, there will be match.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it a 25 or 50% match, or do you know that yet?
It's a 20% minimum.
20%.
And the more match you can get, the higher you rank on the grant
And also, can you use some of your work in kind for that also?
That's a good question. On the last go-round, okay, we were in a position, we were gonna make application for this next level trails grant just before the whole grant program got shut down because of COVID. Okay? But that was the plan, to use some of this current project, because the current project is funded out of a whole different pot of money. And so there is some speculation that we can use parts of, if not all of this current project for match. But that's very, very much unclear at this point. I probably shouldn't have even said that, because it's that unclear. But there's some speculation that we could do that.
Some
But
people
we
might
also-
not. Some people might not know, but I believe Park County this last go-around got $5 or $6 million.
Park County got $5 million on the last go-round.
$5 million.
$5 million.
$5 million. It's $5
How much do they have
million.
to match though?
20%. So they got $1 million in it.
Yeah. And there's a bigger
It-
picture to this too, how we connect two counties together.
Well,
And that's-
actually,
that's the whole thing
in the
about
bigger
growing the
picture,
community.
the bigger picture is actually amounts to a 3-county loop. And let's just say we start in Rockville, come out Strawberry Road, cross the highway there at Big Inch, come into Montezuma, cross the bridge, go down our current project, out our new project, down River Road to Clinton, probably go behind Elanco.
Elanco still got that option open, or are they saying anything else?
We
about
don't know. We're, you know, and then we want to go down the NDOT right away. We're talking to NDOT. Once we get to Clinton, we go on Dean Strome's trail that he's developed through Clinton, take River Road south to Shepherdsville. Their Vigo County will pick it up. They'll go down to the Duke Energy Plant, cross under 63, go to St. Mary of the Woods, come across the brand new cantilevered walkway between West Terre Haute and Terre Haute that NDOT is putting in at the cost of like $7 million. There's a lot of buy-in on this stuff. Once we get across from West Terre Haute to Terre Haute, you get on the Heritage Trail, go up to Markle Dam, I think it is, and catch the new trail that Park County's putting in with their $5 million, right back up to Rockville. We could have a 30-mile, 40-mile loop trail that could be a destination for people to come from miles around to come on that. All I want to do, I just want to go tasty fruits.
One to
Do I
Rosedale's
come
already
pick
been
you up in the
approved,
car and
hasn't
take you
it?
there?
One to Rosedale's already been approved through Vigo County, hasn't it?
No.
It hasn't? Just
No.
in proposal stage?
The
still?
Heritage Trail exists, it's in place.
Right.
But the Markle Dam connection, there is a rail bed available, and DNR owns part of that. And so they've got some
Still
good,
pending.
they've got a good line on that. And this is pie in the sky, folks. I'm not kidding. I mean, this is dreaming. We're trying to dream. This may not come together for a generation. We don't know. But if we don't build our part, it won't come together at all, ever. So, there you go. That's my ask. So you all think about it, and if you would,
Can you
put it on the agenda for next meeting. In the meantime, maybe John can review these letters, give you an opinion on that, maybe fill in some of the blanks and, you know, adjust them however, talk to Joel, whatever.
When do you think you'd have a cost of it?
You have to get engineering.
Well, we need to get engineering, and I think at this point in time, we've been working with HWC, and they've been agreeable to work with. We're not married to them by any means, and so we would take any kind of input on whether we would go ahead and use them, change, whatever. But I know HWC does a lot of work with it, apparently with you all now. You referred to Eric Smith, and they've done a lot of work with the county. I think they're a pretty agreeable bunch. We do have some engineering, preliminary engineering already. We had a graduate civil engineering group from Rose Hallman that came out. We've got a book. I mean, we've got a book that thick on this project already. Didn't cost us anything. cost us like $20, I think. We had to pay some of their travel.
This was their senior design project,
Yes.
was it not?
Exactly, yes.
You guys will have a dedication or something on your Trailhead.
That's your next speaker here. I'm gonna turn
Okay.
it, if there are no questions on this project, question, then I'll let Tom stand up here and he'll talk to you about Trailhead.
So just the Thrive West Central, here's the trail, the 6-county trail app that Thrive is working on, and it has the proposed trails, current trails, all those things. So that's another project that's going on to, so people will know, you know, where the trails are at and what's available, descriptions of all these. So that's something that's on, it's in the beta test phase at this point. But it has even like things like, well, the ones that are in our county, like the Cuga, Perrysville, the thing at Hillsdale, you know, anything that's the Sportland Park, everything that's in the Clinton, and we've got a paper map that will be transferred to the app right there. Dean Strom has expanded the Clinton, so this is all going into an app that will be rolled out, be available for iPhone and Android. So that's coming through Thrive West Central. So this idea of regionalism in the trails, because that's going to give us probably extra points to be part of a regional system. Okay, now for your question about opening Trailhead Park, we've got the park board put up their signage down there. I talked to Lynn today. She said that the signage the trail rules and our stop sign will be ready either Friday or next Tuesday, so we'll have that. We've got to get a little bit of dirt moved right there to get a more gradual approach to the trail. We're close. You know, I'm ready.
Looking good.
Yeah, I'm ready to set a date for the party. You know, for the celebration of this. So it's like, what's the best time for you guys to be out
It's not really
there?
us, what's the best time for the public? You know,
Well,
the public is the ones that...
And so, I mean, we're ready to do this. I mean, close. We're within time. We could set a time and we can do it. And have a celebration. You know, it's a celebration of the commissioners I mean, it's your project. Legally, it's your project, and the trail group of Vermilion Rise, and they're part of it. So, I mean, with the cooperation of many different groups, we're actually going to have a trail open.
Great.
Yeah. So, and we might as well have we might as well celebrate this. Have Eric come out and take our picture and all this, and we're ready.
We'll beat him.
Probably a Saturday afternoon or something like that, probably best for the public, wouldn't it? Anybody
Be fine with me.
comment?
Why don't you propose a date? And I was thinking somewhere around the 4th of July, possibly, if that wouldn't be too far out, and make a
So we'll
grand
come back-
celebration of it for the country's birthday and the
Yeah, well, we'll
Trailhead.
come back with a date. Maybe, yeah, sometime we just need to do this, and you're saying a Saturday sometime, as soon as we can.
Once
get
you
all this
consider
done.
July 3rd, that's, it is a holiday weekend, so it's something to consider whether you want to do it before the holiday weekend or the weekend of the holiday, so.
So you're open, set a date and if we set a date and then we'll make it work?
And Les is going to put off fireworks for us as well, is that what it is?
He is fireworks.
No, we don't.
He just wants ice cream.
Maybe they'll set up a booth out there for you, give you a taste of it.
So then there are things that are not going to be complete at Trailhead Park. I mean, the Naturescape playground. Lacey Roaming, who's the FAA advisor at FFA at North Vermilion, she's got a plan drawn up for a Naturescape playground there. Start biting that off. We've got a storybook trail that is. We've got an Eagle Scout project that is putting together. We've got a grant opportunity out to what do you call our community foundation group right there to actually blacktop a small trail around there, the storybook trail. So in that,
I saw that, and that was I saw the pictures of those up at the, or not the pictures, the actual end product, and that really is impressive. And
Yeah.
explain that storybook trail, can you, a little bit more?
I'm not the best one. Lynn's the one that really
Yeah, she's not-
understands it better
she
than I
here?
do. She's not here. She's actually in Florida. She actually took a vacation down there, but,
Well,
Working 4 days,
to give you a
4 hours day, so
preview,
she's not-
yeah, she calls me. I mean, I've been on the phone twice with her. I said, Lynn,
been
you're
on
on
the phone with
vacation,
her.
but anyway.
for a preview of it though, is that they have these storybooks set up where you can go around the trail and you read different stories as you go around the trail. But the neat part about it is that it's not stagnant. After a period of time, a month, 2 months, however long they leave them out there, it goes to another spot and then it rotates around from trail to trail. So it's not a stagnant display. It's once you've been out there, you can visit again, and likely it'll be something different, a different story, if you will.
And there's books.
And it'll rotate from different county parks.
Right, and there's books that go along with this,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah, I
We
forgot about that.
we partnered with the library, we partnered, like Tom said, with the Eagle Scout. You know, I gotta tell you, this trail thing, the amount of people that are stepping up and being partners with us has been really gratifying. I think we've got something good going on.
And the state, I mean, it's been a day of raising their priority. Trails is becoming more of a priority on a state level, you know, so, I mean, we're right in line to take advantage of the things that are coming out to do this type of quality of life, quality of place. I mean, that's what we heard David Terrell talk about the other night at our presentation, quality of place. You want to make our community better, bigger, quality of place. Trails is
attractive.
one part. It's one piece of that puzzle.
One thing, when I came by your meeting the other day, I just came by for a few minutes, went on because I was in a hurry, but there was a flyer. The lady there sitting talking about the playground equipment. Is that the same thing, or is that a totally different?
That's the Naturescape
That's the
Playground.
Naturescape,
Okay,
right.
that,
Yeah,
that
Lacey-
flyer was impressive, and just
Yeah.
what was on it was very, very interesting.
Well, and the thing about the Naturescape Playground is there will not be a single piece of colored plastic equipment out there. It's all gonna be logs and tree houses and wooden things and rocks and boulders. That's the reason it's called a Naturescape. And we think, the other thing about the trail, the storybook trail, is it doubles as the Indiana tree trail. We've identified 40 different species of native Indiana trees on that site. We planted 30 of them.
How will you guys handle that with the insurance? Will that become your liability or county liability?
It's a county park.
Yeah.
It's a county park.
And everything we've been told up to this point is that it's added as an additional site, and it does not, I mean, that's when we first started into this, it's not gonna add to your insurance costs. It's just an additional site on your, listed as your insurance. Have I got that right? That,
Under the Parks Department.
under the Parks Department, see?
If any added on to that, I think the insurance company ought to be notified. I know you're not with them no more. But I mean, if you're putting something there, something that could expose to more risk, I think the insurance company ought to know there's a change on that property. I mean,
that makes sense.
You know, they've been pretty prudent about doing all that.
Okay.
They're
Don't say
I own
George
that
told me he-
agency, so I already talked to George about these kind of things.
Okay.
more so than I've ever seen any other group, I think, other than the Rise.
Well, and that's part of our board, you know, I mean, there's lots of people on there that have different areas of expertise that have helped us through this process.
One question on the trails though, on the insurance portion of it, is that falling underneath the parks as still? What difference would it make if it goes underneath highway, transportation?
Would be a rating process on it, but.
Is it
I think
better
we
or
want it
worse?
under parks, basically, is where we want it.
Okay.
It really doesn't have the highway exposure. You mean by the miles of roads and everything?
No, not that it adds to anything to that, not for taxation, or not for income, but for grants and so forth. A lot of the grants now are being done underneath highway funding, so I was just wondering if there's any
You can
difference.
propose
Or
that. I mean, we can take it to the insurance company, see if they recognize it under that.
I was just, it's a question.
Yeah.
It
Might
might be,
benefit the county the best, I guess, is what you gotta look at.
that's the way I look at it.
That's why I look at
So-
it.
And eventually, that's what, to make this all complete, I mean, it's gonna take state funding probably along the state Highway 63. I mean, and people are buying into those things. I mean, just that bridge, the cantilever thing along there, how many $1 million did the state?
Yeah, INDOT's kicking in, well, there's some federal money in it, but, that thing between West Terre Haute and Terre Haute is upwards of $7 million that's being spent. I went out there, Tom and I went
Yeah.
out there the other day and looked at it, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, it's all, what do you call it, not
Plastic
aggregate,
stuff, what do you call that, wood? You know, it's not wood, but it's plastic, what's that called?
Composite.
Whatever.
Composite
it is,
decking.
Yeah.
For
It's
fiberglass.
nice, it is really nice.
Any other questions about the trail on Trailhead? You're somewhere to answer your questions.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Next on the agenda is jail renovation. Britton, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think we're going to waylay the bid letting till next, or the award of the bids next meeting. I have a little bit of a discrepancy between two documents I want to rectify before we actually make the announcements. Before we get into actual numbers, we can say that the project did come in considerably higher than what we had projected. In round numbers, back a year ago, I think the estimate came in at approximately $399. Basically, you call it $400 a square foot is about what it costs for the overall cost. Going into January of this year, the engineer's estimate came back, and it was closer to $479, $489 per square foot. When the bids actually came in, it came out closer to $529 of actual cost to the project. So COVID has had a significant effect on it. Basically, it's not necessarily with the labor, but with the supply chain. And what we're experiencing is a number of increases in prices, and I think you can look at the reports of 4.5% inflation just in 1 month alone, this last month or so. Our bids are locked in until August 16th. Come this next Monday will be the expiration of our 30-day objections to the leasing and the bonding documents. So that'll expire next Tuesday. The sale of the bonds needs to be completed by June 21st, and it looks like we're going to be within, even though we have an increase in prices on this, it looks like we're still going to be within our bonding capacity, and it's going to be up to council after we make our recommendation to council as to how they want to fund this through the, there's so much that'll be funded through the bonds, and then there'll be so much funded from the different accounts in the county. So that is still being worked out. As actually this afternoon we're still working on it. I was late getting here for that. So I believe that you can look at the bid documents and you can see who's probably going to be awarded the bids. Be the lowest and best, most responsive bidder. And right now I think that those are available to the public for review. If you have any comments, you can get a hold of any one of the commissioners, or you can make public comment. I think next Tuesday we'll make the awards after we talk with council a little bit more about the numbers and making sure that our numbers are solid at that point.
Brandon, you mean next meeting or?
2 weeks.
Okay, all right.
Or next commissioners meeting. What did I say?
You said next Tuesday, so I wanted
Okay.
to.
Or next, whichever comes first. Which comes last. Whatever. Anyway, in 2 weeks, our next commissioners meeting, we'll be making the awards at that point. And we had bids on everything except for our electrical bid. And what happens with that is that since we had no bids, it's a prerogative of the commissioners to go out and entertain or request proposals from one or more firms at that point in time. And then we negotiate a price from there. So that's where we stand on all of our bidding documents at this point. So anybody has any comments or any questions on any particular bid document, please state your piece. If you have something tonight, we can listen to that as well. Yeah, John?
Where do you get a copy?
Can you come up? Oh, you're just asking.
Oh, you just asked.
Beg your pardon?
We can. You should be able to get it through the auditor, the bid tabulation document.
Okay, I mean, the email or?
We can get it after, get one after the meeting.
There is, and I was looking on my sheet, and it's not. The sheet I have here does not have that on
Because
it. That is still
looking at
being
these numbers, I'm
negotiated.
assuming that's reflected in these figures.
Yes.
It's just, since there weren't any bids the other day, I know we didn't have that then, so I'm just trying
We
to-
can make it available to you.
Just trying to fill in the blanks, you know.
And we're not finalized on the electrical bid yet. It's still in negotiation at this point.
Understood.
Yes.
Tim Wilkins. How much is the engineering cost to be on the total project?
Well, would it be best to show you the soft costs?
Estimate, I think is what he meant.
I'm sorry?
How much should we pay for the engineering up front?
Well, we don't pay anything up front. It's on expenses as they submit their billings, but I don't know if I have the
So how
soft
much
cost
does
here.
It's around 960, ain't it?
I don't know if I have the soft cost in front of me.
A second, we'll find it for you.
So it came in about 25% lower than, their bid was 25% lower than the actual, or their estimate was 25% lower than what the bids were.
That's RDQW, right?
You're talking about the project cost estimates. Yeah, the total project cost was estimated at $22,908,659. The bid came in at is approximately a $2,661,959 difference. Higher, yes.
And you don't have electrical yet, right?
That
No, we gotta figure it
that
out.
includes.
Engineering cost, does that go in with it, the total cost?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are all considered
And that-
soft costs.
What was the engineering cost?
I don't have that broke out on this sheet.
The quote from RQAW was around 900 and some thousand. She'll get that. That was the engineering cost, somewhere in that vicinity.
I wanna say that's right.
What?
I wanna say that's about
Yeah,
right,
that's
900
about
some
right.
thousand, I would
And
guess.
Garmong is overseeing that, is that included in the?
Gormong is not the engineer. Gormong is not the engineering company on it. They are the
They're
CMs.
10% of the total cost, right?
There's
No.
more than that involved.
What's more than that?
Yeah.
Not more than
Okay.
I think Garmin was 10% all in, right? For their CMA.
that. We're talking
We're talking about
too
figures.
many different numbers here. If you want to discuss the numbers in particular, we can do that, but picking out numbers, make sure that we understand what we're talking about.
Okay, I read it where it was 6% on one part of it, 4%, which was a total of 10. 6 on the construction, maybe?
Yeah, it doesn't really work that way. It kind of appears that way, it doesn't really work that way, though. We can go over those costs after the meeting or at a different time if you wish.
Design engineering was 950,000.
But it's, the percentages are of different
Yeah.
things, so it looks like a 10%, it's not. Anything else I can't answer?
Oh, he got a copy, okay.
I don't know, is it kind of an open discussion? I just got 5 questions I want to ask.
Yeah, please ask it. Yeah, that's-
Come on up and.
Yeah, come on up here.
It'd be
I'll
best.
hear you.
Thank you.
We forget to ask people to come up here and then you can't hear.
You can't hear it on the video.
I can't hear anyway.
Well, as you know, and rightfully so, I didn't get started in this till way late. And I'm not debating it. I think a lot of people misreading that I'm debating it. Does changes need to be done for jail? Yes. But 2/3 of the commissioners wasn't here when it started, so they're kind of getting what they've left, what crumbs are left on the table or whatever plans they've made. But for the 2 new ones, I mean, what is your driving, what is driving this change at the jail? What is the biggest problem at the jail that needs corrected?
You talking to the 2 new commissioners?
Yeah, or Tim. I mean,
Yeah,
Tim's kind of been involved.
Yeah,
He
well,
needs
Kim,
a
I mean, I
break.
served on the council for 2 years, and I know just viewing the jail, I mean, there's several issues I could go off of, but I mean, overcrowding is a big one.
Okay.
I know currently, I don't know what the current numbers are, but I could tell you that there's probably a drawer full of warrants that need served. Structurally, there's a lot of things that have been done wrong back in I don't know when it was built, 1994.
Right.
So yeah, I think it definitely needs done, and unfortunately before my time, 5 years ago, this renovation could have been done a lot cheaper in 24 million. So unfortunately, I always use the word kick the can down the road, and now that I'm here, I don't want to see it kicked any farther. Nobody wants to hear 20-some million be spent on a jail. I mean, none of us are eager to spend that money, but unfortunately, sometimes money has to be spent to make these improvements.
Well, the other part of that question, I guess you put it section A.
Can I ask something to answer that
Yeah.
question? The question came up is, why did the price go up by $10 million more than 2 years ago, or whenever that question came up? We had backed up on this jail project and said, well, let's just try to renovate the jail, which, everybody agrees jail needs renovated. And you'd even agree with that. But the renovation would need to be done. So we backed up and said, well, let's do it that way. What happened is the jail population was kind of going everywhere then. But my point is, we were getting ready to do this project, and I called and talked to the prosecutor and talked to the judge. And we had them in a meeting, and they was there, they can vouch for it. And my question was them, it says, we got a jail population here. Can we work something out where it's going to be manageable from here on at that supposed rate? Well, it really wasn't a fair question to ask them that. I mean, it really wasn't. But for us to be making a decision of many millions of dollars to make an error at that point and not increase our capacity would have been a very poor decision. So therefore, we couldn't. From my standpoint, that answer was not there, and I respect them. I'm not saying anything negative about them. I'm saying they couldn't answer it either. No one can answer it. But we know we got a problem. The overcrowding, and I've stated this before, and I know you've disagreed with it, but the engineer and the state does agree that our capacity is 72. 75%, 80%, when you reach 80% of that 72, the state of Indiana says you're full. Last time I checked, I think we're at 70 today. So the thing is about changing and going a different route then was there's no way that you could, for us to take a chance and not go ahead and increase the size of the jail when renovating the jail would have been a very bad decision. So if we didn't, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know why we're even discussing this again.
Well, I was asking another
It's
part of his
kind
question.
I'm looking at it hopefully as a public comment.
Yeah.
And
We're beyond discussing whether we're going to have a jail or not. We're at the point of constructing a jail, or assuming council will fund it the rest of the way.
Okay.
I believe they did, but we're beyond that
we don't
point.
have to discuss it. I can just ask my next question.
Okay.
What's the difference in price from a new versus remodel or reconstruct, renovation? What's the difference,
Don't know.
Today's cost, I couldn't.
That
I would imagine it's going to be more in renovating if I had to guess, but I mean.
We did ask the question of Garmong, or not Garmong, but RQAW as to oppose as to the current jail and going to a totally green site, constructing from the base. At that time, they didn't give me an actual percentage difference, but that was considerable, whatever that means. Today, though, we're looking at the costs being because of material, not necessarily because of labor. I'm sure labor has done its own thing too. But we're looking at material cost differences, and if we go to a completely new jail, as opposed to using the parts that we do have, we're looking at a considerable increase from what we have already. Estimates have not been good in the last year. I think I already stated we went from a $399 average in the state of Indiana for a jail to be constructed, up to what we have now is we actually have a cost of $529 million at this, or thousand.
Mr. Luther,
I'm sorry.
with your experience, you've got vast experience in that field. I mean, you're probably the most qualified person to sit there to answer this question. What do you think? Would it be more to build a new one, or
Yes.
would it cost more to renovate?
The jail is still functional in a lot of ways. What we're doing is adding to the jail to make it administratively, and there was issues with the initial jail, and we're correcting some of those.
Okay.
I don't know who was the architect on it. I guess I shouldn't say much
it's
about that.
Commonwealth.
But anyway, the jail, it is
Who'd you say, Tim?
I think it might have been Commonwealth.
United.
Yeah, I don't want to go
Consultants.
there.
United
Anyway, the
Consultants.
jail had a number of issues with it, as far as it may be being a commercial versus industrial. We're correcting a lot of those at this point in time, of those issues that they had, and that were continued forward. But we cannot build a new jail to this square footage for the price that we have, for an equivalent price anyway. So yes, I'm in agreement that we should use the old jail to be able to do this.
Okay. The next question I have, let's see, is there any pending action against the operation of the jails? Has any suits been filed or
Not
something
that-
pending in federal court?
Not
or-
that I'm aware of. The only thing that I'm aware of is that we had the county a year or 2 years ago had commissioned, and maybe a little bit longer, commissioned a study as to what the jail population might do. And according to that study, it showed us being out, the capacity being surmounted, and I don't remember the dates, you'd have to look at the study, but basically it warranted the building of a new jail. Now that was something that was decided previous to this administration here.
Right.
You know
And
where we could find the study?
I've got it.
I have a copy of it, yeah. It's not electronic that I have, but somebody may have it electronically. But in order to be, where were we at on that? Before, what was your question?
Okay, that's a good one. I think any pending action against the jail is.
Yeah, there's no
Like
pending.
County, that's what drove them building.
Yeah, most of the cases where jails get in trouble is when they file something that I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
this, I'm not,
My position on it
We've
is that
been
we
very
don't wait to,
fortunate.
we don't
We've been
wait to
very
get in
fortunate.
trouble. That's not the benchmark that we're running for this county. Our benchmark is to prepare a county that is responsive and articulate and capable of administrating a proper public government. And wait until a court tells you to do something, I think is just totally ridiculous. We shouldn't wait that long, and we're not. So-
now in financial part of it, it's gonna be funded through lit tax, local income tax, correct? Totally
Part of
funded?
it is.
Where's the other part?
Well, part of it, 50% goes to highway, does it not? You have to talk to council about that.
Yeah, it
portion of
does.
Well,
It does.
it's gonna be funded through lit tax, through the
Not the
certified shares and public safety, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Then, if things change, we got if we do suffer a decline in population, lose a couple of companies, manufacturing jobs, will you have to shift things out of lit to general fund for a burden against it so that the funding could be made? What are you looking at for bond payments out of lit each year? Of course, you don't know what we don't know what we're bidding, right?
Well,
I mean,
we
if it
have
comes in
our
really high.
estimates, and right here's the estimates on that here,
Yeah.
is what the bond payments
And
will be.
all
County
this-
council is being responsible with that. They're looking at every number that we've put before them today. It's up to us as commissioners to provide them with a number in which we're going to be building this project with. When they get that number, they'll make their decision on how it's to be funded, whether it's going to be totally through bond or whether they'll be putting some of the caches that we have in accounts toward that. And that'll be something that they'll be deciding here in the next few weeks.
Our county council expert there, Mr. Donovan. If it comes in higher, do you have to go back to the council because you approved bonds sale?
I think
I'm
they went-
asking this question.
Yeah, I think they went back, Garmon did a little bit ago and asked for a little bit of an additional, but I do think there might have to be a little bit of,
Last meeting, I think it was 17 million, wasn't it? You had 3 or 4 million on hand.
Correct.
yeah, something to that effect. But like I said,
That's 22, right?
yeah, but I trust the council that's there to make prudent decisions for all the taxpayers. I don't think you're gonna see anybody on that council wanna raise any type of taxes or do anything. And like your question of losing, not enrollment, but population, none of us have a crystal ball. We hope we
Oh,
don't
we
lose.
don't.
Nobody does. So unfortunately, if we wait for what might happen, we'll never make those decisions.
The trend from 2010 population shows a decline. but hopefully it'll pick up.
Well, hopefully people keep building houses. Expenses.
I think the trend, if you look at it, I don't know what the population is, but I think it's going up. It might not, but the numbers ain't in yet. but I think they are. Do what?
It's went down 5% in the last 2 censuses.
Yeah, I
And
think
we
you're
got
gonna see a
12%
turnaround.
poverty.
5.3,
I've been
5.7.
through 3 new house buildings already in the
Oh,
last
yeah.
year, people moving here from Illinois. They're wanting
Septic
to come
tank
here.
permits are going good.
Well,
So
yeah,
that's
really.
good, you know, so.
People, this is a great place for people to move and to, I don't like to think of a vision of Vermillion County like we're gonna lose a bunch of people and it's gonna go down the hill. I don't believe in it. I believe
The discussion's getting away from where we need to be.
I know, but let me finish.
I think you're answering questions where people just,
Yeah,
you know, it's just
it's
a
a-
question you'd sit in a coffee shop and say, well, how much
Yeah.
is that gonna cost? What? And then my other part of my question is, where's the red line? Is there a certain number that'll have to go back and start over? I mean, if it goes up, like your electrical,
Well,
that's gonna
I
be an
think, Kim, if
expensive
someone threw a
adventure.
number at us and said $60 million for a new jail, I think I'd probably say, I think that's a little crazy, we'll have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've all got our limits,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not, but I mean,
We
I don't
already,
think.
we already have estimates on the electrical as to where it should fall and what, we're in negotiations now, and that's why we're not exactly there yet, we're still negotiating. So the numbers still fall within the realm of our expectations as far as the
Right,
financing and bonding goes.
I've read through the bids and stuff, the ones, single bid, if they're a little bit high, does that go back in, be rebid, or do they get the bid?
No, they get the bid.
Okay.
We bid this out, we don't expect to go out for bids again on any of this. The only thing that is in question at this point is the electrical. If we don't negotiate a favorable contract with that, we'll pick another firm and negotiate with them.
If you look at the total price of the project and all that's happened with COVID, all the price increases, we're still within 10%. And that, I'm just saying, if you're within 10% of a budget amount during COVID time of tremendous price increases, you've done very well. That's the way I look at it.
We've discussed what would happen if we would lay the project for a year, 5 years, can't go much beyond that.
Makes sense.
And
So we went from 399 to
I'm talking,
529.
please. Baker Tilly had requested their comments on that, and we've received favorable comments that we should continue with the project, that if we would wait, that we would expect that this increase would be greater than what we have at the present. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we went from 399 to 529 a square foot, or, okay. And that's within 10%.
But my last question, I'll sit down, because there's no more.
You're free to come and ask that question if you want to.
The trend now for the state of Indiana trial rule 26 and the federal redoing the sentencing and trying to reduce inmate population, do you think that might have a little bit of effect to give us some wiggle room, or not? Or you just don't think it'll happen?
The whole thing is it's not worth the risk. I mean, government can, and you know, you've been in government, they can make a ruling today and tomorrow they can change it.
Yeah.
And so we have to prepare ourselves regardless of that. And so that's.
Well, it's really outside the realm of what we're discussing here. You're
Well,
back
Mr.
to. you're back-
I wasn't here to argue, but it isn't. I mean, it's a question taxpayers in this county just want to know just an answer. Nobody's putting anybody down. I sat here and said, you guys, you got this handed to you. 6 months ago,
Well, that's
you
what
got,
I'm
or
saying.
5 months
We've
ago,
already
you got
made a
this handed to you.
A
So you're
decision's
trying
already
to play
been
your
made.
hand.
The decision's already been made. Now it's a matter of getting it to construction and get it to completion, so.
So
Kim, to
we
give-
go with this decision even if it's gonna crash. Is that what you're saying? I mean, you're saying the decision's over?
I'm saying that the
So-
commissioners will make prudent decisions according to what we have as far as the bids and the recommendations of our engineers and our financial advisors. That the decision as far as building the jail has been made, yes.
And then Kim, to answer that last question of yours, you know, maybe that does help, that title rule, whatever it is. You know, I wish we had a crystal ball, and if
Yeah.
it did, we wouldn't spend the 20-some million. But unfortunately, I think, you know, like Britton said, you know, I am moving forward with it. You know, I'm going to support it. But, you know, I hope that nobody gets arrested. And I would love to live in a world where we didn't have to have all the stuff that we have to have. You know, but unfortunately, you know, we have to have some of these updates, so.
And Mr. Luther, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you hand out the 2006 or 2005, 2006 was when I was at the jail. Those are counts of people in there. And I've got to apologize to everybody in this room because the way you're figuring, I was way overpopulated. Bob Spence should have to apologize because when he was in there, he was overpopulated. So I'm just saying, by your rules, I mean, we were. So if I didn't get any trouble with DLC, never had any tort claims filed, never had anything, so I guess I was lucky. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no one here wants to build this jail. It's a headache, but you know, sometimes you have to do these things. So appreciate your comments. Did you want to say something? If you want to ask out later, you can. If you want to sit and talk with us, it's fine with me.
Oh, no,
Anybody else got any questions?
I got something to say. I wonder if Mr. Luther understands.
Could you come up here and
No, I don't want to.
You got to come up here if you're going to talk, because they can't hear you.
I guess I'm gonna get scolded now, eh?
No, sir, you're a public servant.
Can you state your name? State your
Rhonda
name.
Hawkins. And
Is
I
what?
have worked in politics, in the courthouse, for the judge, for my husband. I started the CASA program. And you are a public servant. When somebody speaks to you, you need to be respectful. And I'm sorry, but you got on my last nerve tonight.
Anybody else got any comment? Anybody else? If you have any questions, you want to talk to me after the meeting, I'm open. A lot of times things are misconstrued out in the public, and I'm open anytime to talk, and I think that's the only reasonable thing I can do. So, any other questions on the jail? We're going to move on. Anybody else on jail? Next on the road cut ordinance, we're going to table that till later.
Yeah, we passed that ordinance last meeting, the intern ordinance, and that's going to be an intern one until we bring back a full-scale one. Because I think it's being advertised right now in the paper, right?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So what did you say it one more time?
The ordinance we passed last meeting is an interim ordinance.
Okay.
Until we bring back a full-scale one.
Okay.
So
we'll address it next meeting.
Next meeting or a couple meetings, however long we need.
Okay, anybody wants to talk about that after the meeting, I'll be here and talk to you about it. Moving right along, new business. Paige Kilgore. Assessor, contract for professional services.
Yes. I sent you three a copy of the contract. I'd like to hire my own legal counsel for an IBTR hearing. I brought the contract here. If I could walk away tonight with your signatures, I would appreciate it.
I had some questions that you hadn't responded to as of yet. Are you going to respond to those, or you want to ask them in here?
That's up to you.
Okay. In the email you referenced that you were looking for legal counsel. Does this firm actually provide legal services?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there a firm in the county that can provide the same level of services?
I don't believe there is.
The fee's about $200 an hour. Is this inclusive of expenditures, administrative and accounting functions? And travel
would.
expenses, et cetera?
Well, currently, we do a lot of things over the phone. We do it by Zoom meetings, so there should not be any travel expenses. But if there is, I do have a budget that has been approved by the council that will help cover my cost. So I will not be coming back to ask for any money.
Do you pay for the time that they leave their office to here, or how's that paid if they do travel? And is it mileage, or is it by the hour, or?
I will be sure and ask I don't have a definite answer for you.
is- I guess basically a schedule of fees and expenses would be nice. I think that's the only 3 questions I have.
Okay, we got a motion to approve this?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the professional service agreement, the assessor has presented to us.
I'll second it. Discussion?
Do you want to make a contingent on getting a list of expenditures or costs over and above the rates?
Paige, have you done one of these professional services before?
Yes, I've hired this attorney before.
Have you had any issues with
No.
them prior? I wouldn't make any requirements for that. I mean, that's up to the other 2 commissioners, but I trust Paige's judgment in that office, so.
Thank you.
I don't know, it's a matter of judgment, really. It's just a matter of contract.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Measure passed.
Thank you. Do I wait till after the meeting to get your signatures or?
Sure,
do-
you're fine.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ambulance service. Who's here with the ambulance service? You got on that, Brett?
Tried to approach 3 firms now for auditing services, 2 here in the county, and then Baker Tilly was the last one. I got a response today back from them that they don't believe that's in their, that they have a group that would be able to support that, to be able to provide a proper audit. Supposed to receive another firm recommendation, actually from Ashley, so hopefully I'll have that just tomorrow, and maybe by the following weekend or by the next meeting we'll have a contract to be able to complete the audit at this point.
Okay.
On the next meeting.
And do
We'll
we,
keep it on the agenda for next meeting.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll have an agreement by then.
And
Apparently the firm that actually is talking about can perform in South Terre Haute here, so.
And you're just talking about an audit, right? A financial audit. So.
Yeah, where we're headed with that is that there's been some question with the ambulance service as to providing ambulances in Cayuga and Clinton, and then one that floats in between. And that contract is coming due in September, I believe it is, and so by August we're going to have a decision as to what type of monies are going to be spent on that. The contract was actually approved, but it was contingent upon the council, or upon financing of the 3rd ambulance. So that contract is in jeopardy, I guess, until we actually agree on that, or the council agrees on funding this 3rd ambulance. It's going to have to be rewritten if we find that the ambulance or the council will not agree to that. So anyway, where we're going with it is that hopefully we'll have an audit, we'll see what the costs are that we're looking at, look at a reasonable return for their investments, and I think that should settle the description or any thoughts as to whether the ambulance service is making money or losing money, or at what point should we be in negotiating those services.
Britton, if I could interject on that, the council actually approved that 3rd ambulance last budget hearing.
For 1 year.
For 1 year. So I mean, I didn't know if you meant that. I didn't know if
Yeah.
you knew it was already okay.
Yeah, for 1 year.
Okay.
The problem is that they're going to have to approve the money.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
So when is that renewal date coming up for that contract with the ambulance?
I don't have the exact date. September something like.
September.
I don't
I
remember
think it's
the
budget
exact
hearings,
date.
I think. Yeah.
Okay.
But they have to have the number before the number, or before that date hits, and the council's going to have to either approve, or we'll have to do something different at that point if they don't. The contract doesn't actually stipulate what happens if the council doesn't approve it. It just is kind of silent to that effect, so that's why I say that the contract may have to be renegotiated at some point.
So we'll just put it on the agenda again for next meeting, right?
Yep.
Anybody else got any comment about the ambulance service? Next is Clark Dietz. Clark Dietz.
This is
Professional service agreement for Bridge 90.
over
We'll come up here.
1450. Well, I don't know if, well, I'm sure Kevin knows, yeah. If you wanna come up and talk about it, it don't matter.
Yeah.
Proposed or
Yeah.
present it. I think you've had the contract in front of you to review, and if you have any questions, I can answer those questions.
Yeah, I think we had a few questions, but I think Kevin fixed some of those and added those. This is an agreement that we had asked Clark Deeds to put together to oversee, I'm going to say oversee the project, prepare bid documents, and oversee the work on it. It's a total cost of, let me find the number here so the public knows. I want to say it was $38,000.
These documents.
40,000, yeah, 40,000. But it's a big project. The bridge is a $160,000 bridge. There's Britton. Keep going. All right. So anyway, I would like to see the commissioners approve this professional service agreement so we can move forward on this project on 1450.
Okay. While you're up here, you're also taking care of an issue on the bridge that was damaged, correct?
I've been
You
working
want
with
to talk about that? You know,
Bridge fit. I don't know much about
I was
bridge.
gonna
working
say,
with Britain, and
Yeah.
we've got some contracts, bid documents. Well, I guess we're not going to bid it, but repair specifications to get quotes, and gave those, sent those over to you in an email today. And I'm going to prepare a contract for our services too, similar to Bridge 90. I mean, won't be nearly that expensive at all, but.
Okay. Hey, Brett, you want to discuss about the bridge that was damaged and discuss that a little bit?
Bridge 15.
Yeah.
We had a guard. Are we up to that already?
We haven't passed this. I didn't know if you want to do an
He just
agreement
took care of his
first.
side. His bridge.
Should we? Let's stay on one topic.
Yeah,
should
we can. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
I'll-
just talked while he was going. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to see the commissioners if we could approve this agreement with Clark Dietz. I'd make a motion to approve the professional service agreement provided by Clark Dietz for Bridge 90.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Now talk about your situation. If you could just read.
Requesting that the commissioners provide an emergency order for bridge number 15. It's at Rangeline Road and Gin Creek. Where it is immediately south of Universal. As you go down the hill, it's the first creek that you come to. There was an accident that occurred there, and I don't have the dates in front of me, but basically, person took out the guardrail all on the, I guess, east side of the bridge on the northbound lane. Right now, we have barricades on that, and it is one of the more heavily used bridges. It is an H93 loading, which basically allows the trucks up to 80,000 pounds plus or minus to cross that bridge. It serves hog slats, and a number of the gravel trucks use that road consistently. With that being the case, I'd like to have it repaired and at the earliest opportunity. We've got our costs together as far as what the bridge and the timing of being able to place those orders. If we do pass an emergency order, basically what that means is that we're allowed to go with 2 bids of our choice, and then pick one of those 2 to be able to cause the repair of that bridge. If they have the emergency order, I'm planning on that whatever contractor receives that will have a approximately a 6-week to 7-week waylay on timing to get the materials into place and be able to effect those repairs. So I'd like to.
Do you know who you're going to send out invitations to?
White Construction and
John Trissler.
Just the statute says when you declare an emergency, you have to have that
Made those.
information in the minutes, so.
Anyway, White Construction and John Trissler Construction or LLC, I'm not sure which one they are the 2 that we're going to go to at this point.
Was there any, the person who hit that, did they have any insurance or anything, or do you know anything about that?
I've not heard. I did request our Sheriff's Department, Black Diamond Fire, our EMS, and our Highway Department to send in we're supposed to receive their costs. Melissa's collecting those, and we will be filing against insurance how those funds will be distributed, I'm not sure how that'll happen, if we do receive anything from it, but.
You send me something with the names. I know white construction. That's not right.
May have that here.
Anybody else got any other comment about that? You got the number of it and everything?
Yeah.
What all you need, what all you got here that we need to, you wanna read it?
All we need to do is read it to the record.
You wanna go ahead and read it for the record?
Okay. This is Vermilion County specifications and repair for County Bridge number 15, South Range Line Road over Jen Creek. Request that the commissioners offer an emergency order to cause the repair of that at the earliest possible time.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, that was my motion.
Well, you made the motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
I'm not sure it's in there, the names, but.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have you heard anything else about Bridge 122?
I had a call from Melissa and project manager from MnDOT wanted to schedule, prepared a schedule for, I think the construction would be, we're talking about, I think it was 2024.
Good.
But we've had the survey done. We need to schedule a field check to go over the scope of the work with, and I'll be sending out an invitation to you on attend the meeting.
One of the questions I have with that, on those projects are so many years out, well, you think those projections of costs and stuff will still be within reason?
Well,
I'm just,
of course it is.
I'm just saying, I mean, when you project something out with these type projects, what, 4 years out when you actually?
Yeah, 4 years out.
You saw what
It's
the
like-
jail project is.
Yeah,
so.
just 6 months.
I mean,
So I'm saying, is there anything fixed in that
there's no guarantees.
it'd just be the same amount of funding, 25%, 20, it's 25 in or 20% ballpark?
25. I think 75, no, 2080, right.
2080, okay.
What happens with that if we don't have the funding? Does it just go away at that point?
Well, I guess if NDOT puts in their 80% or they max out, then you'll have to put in more than 20%, pay whatever but if you get to that point, I mean, there's items where we can change the design, maybe if you wanted to cut back, scale back on cost, maybe. I mean,
I'm not saying we do. I
Yeah.
just wonder what is the ramification of
Right.
that.
So hopefully the original estimate was on the high side, but which, take a little bit of the cushion increase.
Any other questions for Clark Dietz?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down.
All right, thank you.
Next is the ARP ordinance.
So we're just reading these and passing them at the next one, right?
You want to read that?
No, we need
We
it
need
today.
this one passed.
Oh, this needs to be done tonight?
Do you want to get the
Yes.
money?
Yes.
That 1.5 million?
Except for $1.5 million that needs to be.
Yeah, we might have to use an emergency on that one tonight, pass this one. Tim, you reading this, you reading this whole thing?
There are a lot of pages in here.
Should only be 3 to it.
Anybody else have a copy real handy, right? Okay. What we're doing, we had to establish a ordinance for America Rescue Plan and it's an ordinance establishing American Rescue Plan Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Grant Fund. Currently, probably toward the latter part of this month, or sometime in June, we will be receiving $1.5 million, and for us to receive that money, we have to establish this ordinance. That's why we're doing it tonight. It's County Ordinance number 2021-6. It's establishing a fund for an ARP grant ordinance for Vermilion County. So, if anybody has any questions, we could read the whole thing, or you can come and look at it. But it's mainly establish a place for the money to go that's coming in.
It's 3 million, we'll get 1.5 this
this year and then 1.5 next year.
1.5 million this year, 1.5 million next year, and it'll also be spent by the end of next year, I believe it is.
2024.
2024, okay. So. Someone want to make a motion, or
I'll make a motion that we approve County Ordinance Number 2021-6, establishing a fund for ARP grant ordinance for Maine County, Indiana, by title only.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Measure passed. Okay. This gives them time for some public
Give me a
comment.
copy of that.
If anyone has any public comment?
I do.
Come up to the.
In a recent chain of events, a bridge was removed up by the Perrysville Airport. According to the district conservationist, if you're changing a creek basin, you have to get that approved by the Indiana DNR Division of Water. As of this morning, nothing's been filed with them. Also, to remove a bridge, you have to, it has to be submitted to Rural Bridge Exemption Guidelines on the Flood Control Act. And as of this morning, nothing's been filed with them. Now, I was told it was none of my business what goes on with county roads. That's fine. But when you go to messing around with the watersheds, that is my business. Anything exceeds 1 acre watershed has to be approved by DNR. You did not do that. And then I found out Sunday that the contractor who was going to put that in notified the county when the culvert showed up that one culvert would not do the job. And he started asking questions a long time before I did, and nothing was done. So I just want that on the record. If you expect private citizens to jump through hoops just to cut a little ditch across the road for tile, you guys have got to abide by the same rules and regulations. I'm done.
No, you said, but I'll talk to you a little more.
No, I'm done.
No, I mean, you want to have.
You want me to share all the text you sent me?
I'll tell you what I said. It's very simple.
I'll read it.
Here's what happened. I'll tell you what happened. This issue came up, and I told him, I said, leave it alone for now.
No, you said leave it alone. It was not my responsibility.
It's not a decision made, or the county highway department, what it is up to the commissioner, whether I agree with it or not. That's what I said. Number two, let's back up. Number two is, I said, I'd like for you to leave it alone because his grandfather just passed away, and please give him some space. That's what I said.
They already had the bridge ripped out by then.
It don't make no difference. There was something going on here that I wanted to leave it alone, and we'd deal with it later. And that's what I was going to. And that's what this issue here is between us. We can sit and talk about it later in private, but I don't see no reason.
I don't see anything to hide. A mistake was made before the bridge was ever torn out. And had the policies and procedures, that's all you guys have talked about all night long, policies and procedures. If you had followed policies and procedures, that never would have happened.
And number two is, we passed that ordinance, and I hadn't had time to sit down and talk to the county crews. We have not had time to discuss this with our crews. We haven't had no time. We made that ordinance because there was going on in the county of people doing stuff to roads which they shouldn't.
That's right.
I honestly didn't have time. That was our next step, but we never had time to get there.
It should have never got that far. That's the point. It should have never gotten that far.
We would have gotten there, okay?
But it was already done. The damage was already done.
Ron,
that's my point.
And if I can interject, I mean, people know me pretty well. I at no point have ever attempted to cut any corners of any kind serving in the political life from a school board clear to now. That mistake was made by a company, and I had told you that on the phone, that this could happen in any district, and you had made a point that all road cuts by county highways should be approved by
all that work should be approved.
But unfortunately, like I told you, prior to even my administration or Britain,
that don't make it right.
I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that has never been done. So when you pick out 50 west of a mistake, there's been road cuts all this year from January on.
You guys raised all kinds of Cain about it.
We had raised Cain about the mistake that was done by Hillsdale with a private citizen. We never raised Cain within county highway, because county highway should be expected to cut their own roads if there's a problem.
Yeah.
Now, at no point am I an engineer did I say, oh yeah, let's go cut this and rip this bridge out.
Well, somebody had to approve it.
I lean on companies that the county has leaned on for the last 20 years has made no
But if
mistakes.
their checks and balances are followed just like you have on your county road permit, that would have been caught before that bridge ever been taken out.
I think, can I? Are
Oh,
you?
yeah, let me
Yeah,
say
yeah.
something real quick. The standard procedure, let's just back this up. You gotta understand, these two came into this not knowing the procedure, okay? Whether I agree with it or you agree with it or not, the standard procedure has been for years, is when the county goes out and something needs done, they get it done. Number two is, the standard procedure is, we have by all our tiles, all our culverts from a company. That company has an engineer on staff that we call them, and they provide a free service recommending the size of pipe. And I think Mr. Donovan did exactly what had been done in the past, whether it's right or wrong, that's the standard procedure that had been going on. And when he did that, he followed the protocol we always have. The ordinance came out, and like I said, I didn't have time to address that yet with the county crews to see what changes we made to talk to them. So when I was saying leave it alone, I wanted enough time to address it, and we didn't have that time because it went from here out there.
The damage was done. The damage was already done.
Any damage on a road can be corrected. Any culvert can be replaced.
Yeah,
It can be
all it
fixed.
takes is money and time.
Well, that's the thing, it can be fixed. And that's, we're here to do it right. RJ's here to do it right. RJ's not an engineer, and he admits it, and I'm not either. Britton might be, but we have always relied on that proper, I say proper because that's been acceptable.
Well, now you know you can't.
And Tim Wilson, you ask Tim Wilson, say, Tim, how do you guys replace culverts? Well, we called the engineering company and said, we had a pipe out here, and they looked at the watershed, and they came back and said X amount of pipe, X size. And so we always had engineering going on. We always have. Whether or not the rest of it, I'm just saying that when an ordinance was passed,
What I'm
I
saying
didn't have
is
time
you
to get my
already
head
had an
around it
ordinance
too.
in place that you were complaining about that private citizens didn't follow. And then you guys turned around and did the exact same thing.
There's a different level there.
The still is basic principles behind it.
We can hold the county responsible because we are the county, but we can't have a hard problem holding someone in a community who's responsible. But I'm just saying, I didn't disagree with what you had to say. I'm just saying I haven't had time to address it. That's why give us some time is what I tried to tell you. But it is a county commissioner's decision whether I like it or not. But I'm saying just give us some time to address it, and we will. But the standard procedure, which Mr. Donovan did, was acceptable, has been acceptable all through time. And he'll tell you right now, he's not an engineer. And he did what he thought was
And then
best.
week before, he called me to go down and look at the road down there by Brenda's house that's flooding.
Well, and that's exactly
Exact
what I mean.
same thing, exact same thing happened. A bridge was ripped out, somebody put a
But
pipe in.
prior to me, and I'll tell anybody that asks me.
So there it is,
and
there's a check and balance system that's built into it that you need to follow. That's the whole point.
Well, I think we need to tweet it some more because I don't think no one should be cutting roads, period, unless we do it. Unless you're a commercial company coming in doing major construction. Well, the issue we had out there that I was upset about was they came in and dug up a tile that was already there. They could have called us and we replaced it probably for free. I mean, that was part of our responsibility. So I'm not saying you're wrong what you're doing. I'm saying just I haven't had enough time. We haven't had time to address the other side of it. We just haven't. And the practice that we've done. And I ain't saying, I know Britton brings out a lot of things about way we can improve it. And you've done, I'm gonna tell you right, you've done more since you've been in office than anyone in that surveyor's office. I'll give you 100% credit. You've done wonderful. We just haven't had time to digest this. I haven't had time to look at it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest with you. And so that's why I said, give us some time. Let's talk about this. And I think everyone here wants to do a better job. There's no way we want to cut corners. But it's been the way we've done it for years, and that's what RJ was doing.
And then Ron, to second the other two comments you made about DNR not being notified, you're right, they hadn't been yet, but I have notified them because there are things we're all learning. Just like the engineering company, I called them, hey,
The engineering company should have done that for
I completely agree with you, Ron, but I think you went about it the wrong way. You hadn't contacted me since you'd called me and we'd already been notified of it. I read something in the paper, I read stuff on Facebook. You could have came and talked to me. Yeah. As a commissioner, you could have came and said, RJ.
I tried for 2 days to talk to you two guys.
Yeah, I never had no phone call, no text, no nothing.
When I responded to my thing, you said you was done and you was not talking to me anymore.
Can I say something here?
Yeah, go ahead, Britt.
Thank you. This is a work in progress.
Yeah.
We've tried to establish some guidelines, and one of them is all the way back to area planning, going through the drainage department, and possibly the land surveyor, because most people don't realize, but the land surveyor is actually in charge of all civil engineering projects in the county, unless an engineer has been named to it. So you have a role in this too, but what we're doing here is taking something that has not existed, I think, in this county in very rude ways as it existed. And actually, I don't think it's existed, just say that. And what we're trying to do is now to get this where we can make these drainage networks responsible to each of the entities that have an interest in this, the stakeholders in this. And we're going to make some mistakes here as we try to learn on how to get this process to work. We're not there yet. I've only gotten one part of this written, and that's not saying anybody agrees with it even, but it's I've sent it out for review, but there's 3 more sections to go along with that. And I agree with you. About everything that you've written is probably true. I think best I can tell what you stated is things that should be done, and maybe they weren't done, and there's reasons for having those things to be done. And I think it's a matter of education also, of bringing our crews, when they do something, that they understand before they do it, that they need to check back in with different entities. I'm hoping that eventually we'll have a county engineer that will be able to put a lot of this, be funneled through there for the highway. Now that's not the only thing that comes into play on this, not just the county roads. But anyway, I think if we get this together and learn from it, and we do need to call each other on if we make a mistake. I know also that we're going to have those things happen here as we're trying to learn, because we don't necessarily understand what the ramifications of some of these things happening.
That's
Just
exactly
like
right.
just like some of these people that are going out and doing road cuts, they have a problem, they're going to solve the problem. They're the pioneers of the day, and they, be damned the rest of it. I'm getting this done, and they go about it. But it does affect the county in different ways, and different people in different ways. So I'm in agreement with what you've said, but we also we're not there yet. We haven't developed our protocols, we haven't developed our specifications, we haven't developed what
Well, the point
engineering
is,
approvals are.
the contractor was ignored before any work ever got started. He said it wasn't gonna work. And then I was sitting in a restaurant, and the guy said, "You better go up and look at that, what they're doing, because it's not gonna work." And sure enough, that's the way it was. And that's when I started a notification process.
Yeah, and I understand.
And
Like I said,
I
think,
was told, that's up to the commissioner, their decision, you have nothing to do with it. And that's when I got involved.
yeah, like I said,
So,
mistakes
that's it.
were
I've said my
made.
piece.
Mistakes were made, and I appreciate your being able to work with that.
Any other public comment? Come on up here, Paige.
You wanted to talk to me about my role, is that right?
Yeah. Paige is assessor. Go ahead. I just had some questions, and about the property tax and what's happened and how all that's going on. Can you just give us a rough gist?
I can't explain property tax because I don't work on that end of it.
Okay.
My job is to find a fair and equitable value using the principles of mass appraisal to a large group of properties at the same time. Typically, we start out doing that by cost, which is using board for board, window for window, to come up with a replacement cost. Once we add in depreciation, we have to then add in the real estate market, which is what we call trending. And as everybody's aware, houses are flying off the shelf. People are paying absurd amounts of money to come live here in our county.
Come live in our county, that's good.
Yes. And while you may not have done anything to your house, and I haven't done anything to my house, our assessments can still raise. The days of a flat line value staying consistent for a period of a reassessment, which used to be every 4 years or every 10 years, has long been gone. Back in 2002, Indiana went to market value and use, which means we have to try to find how the market is affecting each of our properties. I have a lot of statistics and analysis that I have to do on a year basis, and it also has to be passed or meet the Mann-Whitley test over in Indianapolis. Once I've met all my criteria, finished my work, then I hand it off to Brenda, and then she does her calculations from how I understand this, and then she hands it off to the treasurer. I have no role in what someone's tax bill actually is. I'm just after the value. So anybody, Mr. Luther, you're kind of a recent purchaser in the county. Is your assessment staying about in queue where you paid for the property? Is it slowly climbing, getting into it, or have we surpassed that? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
no, I really appreciate what you do. Is very good work. I do
thank
appreciate
you.
that.
I appreciate that.
You, the assessor has a very difficult job of being able to put value to all the homes that are in the county, or all the properties for that matter. It's not just homes. But mine has been up and down. When I read through I had to kind of read what you had to do at one point, and not that I'm anywhere near your expertise by any means, but what you have to go through to assess, and looking at how you have to do that from a roadside basically, or from whatever other tools you have available to you. I find a lot of consistencies between properties when I went and tried to compare them. So I think that the evaluations are pretty good as to what you're trying to attempt to do for a county-wide process. I don't know if that rolls over to your appeals or anything to that. I think people appeal because they think their taxes have gone up, and it's not. I think the hardest part of the public is to understand that you're assessing the property, not setting their tax bill.
Exactly. Thank you for stating that.
Yeah, and people have a hard time differentiating that, and I think there needs to be probably a class in what your taxes are composed of. And it's like the state, I think you have a 2% increase, and there's a circuit breaker, what they call a circuit breaker. Correct me where I'm wrong here, because I'm maybe out of school. Well, I am out of school.
I think the thing to note is the surveyor's handbook is published by the state, correct? The state publishes the county surveyor, or county assessor's handbook.
I was like, what? I'm
lost. I'm sorry, they publish the county assessor's handbook that tells you here's the rules for assessment. That's nothing within county
I'm not a
control.
policy maker. I just follow the laws that are set forth by Indianapolis.
And you do a very good job of doing that. Like I said, I saw a lot of consistencies when I was comparing things. I took quite a bit of time doing it. And there's a lot. I look at this, and I now look at some other properties, not just in my area, but across the county. And sure enough, they were consistent across the county on what I believe to be like properties anyway.
The thing that I struggle with the most is trying to get people to pay attention to their notice of assessment. I constantly use blue paper every year to notify everyone, so that way when you call the office we could say blue paper, not the tax bill. And because we work off a mass appraisal, there are going to be outliers that's not going to fit perfectly into the principles that we have to go by. So that's why the appeal process is set up. It's not a scary thing. Anybody that's ever filed an appeal, we don't buy, we will.
Did you lose a member? Did you lose anything?
I said I did file an appeal.
Yeah. Did you lose a hand or anything on it?
What do you mean by it?
They didn't bite it off.
No. It took some time, but
sure.
She was thorough. I mean, and the explanation I got back was very thorough, and what we settled on I felt was fair and equitable.
Is it still the one-page form?
Yes, it's one page. They have to fill that out.
Any fees to pay to do it?
No, it's all free.
I thought you had to hire some other appraiser to give you another. Am I totally wrong on
Pardon
that?
me?
If you want to have your property reevaluated, you have to hire someone to do appraisal on your property.
No.
I don't know.
That's a misconception that's out in the community, that if they think that their assessment is too high, they automatically think that they need to get an appraisal
Okay.
to rebuff.
Yeah.
My advice is don't spend any money, come talk to me first.
Okay.
Let's have a sit down, let's make sure that all the data that I have is correct. That's the first place to start. A lot of times people don't know that when they tear down something, whether it be a second garage or fill in a swimming pool, they need to notify our office, because we're only there laying eyes on your property one time in a 4-year cycle. And nothing will make a taxpayer more angry than to learn that they've been paying on something that they've taken down.
But it's their responsibility to also notify you that's.
Yes. Yes.
Like on one of my houses in Clinton, I tore the garage down. All that's left there is the concrete pad. Will I still be taxed on that because the
Yes.
pad's still there? So I have to
Yes.
rip that out before I.
Yes.
Will I still be the full evaluation of the structure will be there, even though it's
No,
just.
what we'll do is we'll take the garage off and we'll just change the line item to a concrete patio.
The other question is.
But it'll still have the same year in depreciation.
Okay, the other question I have is, some people on concrete and asphalt driveways, are they assessed any at all?
This is kind of a tricky question. No. For residential, we do not assess for concrete, asphalt, brick driveways.
Okay.
Commercial properties, we do. However, if you're going to go get an independent appraisal, you're going to pay for one. Common sense would say that if you have a paved driveway, your house is going to be worth more, right?
Okay.
While it doesn't affect what I do right now, that doesn't mean that Indianapolis won't change their minds.
But it still changes the market value of
It
the
does,
property, and when it
yes, it
sells,
does.
it's worth more, so.
Exactly. So
The one thing I liked about it, when you did come in to talk to you about any part of your assessment, was you did a very nice job of explaining each line item as you go down through it. So I
thank
think
you.
if people would take time, if they have an issue with one, I think once they have an opportunity to talk to you about it, they give a better understanding of what that line item actually incurs as far as the cost, or how the assessor is looking at that. So I would encourage people to talk with you, because you do, and you take the time. It's not like get in and get out, leave me alone. But you actually take the time.
we try.
You did, or you have, what I've
Thank
seen
you.
so far anyway.
So my question to you is, people's taxes went up in this county, and the answer is,
I don't know.
The
Because I
property
don't work
values
on
went up.
taxes. I don't work with...
no, I'm saying values.
Values have gone up in this county.
Right.
Because, I don't know, you could probably pick a reason. Low interest rates, supply and demand's out of whack right now. People are overpaying. For us that live here, it's lopsided for those that are coming in. We have an influx of people coming from Illinois. But this isn't, just because we border Illinois doesn't mean that Vermilion County is unique to this. This is all over the state.
Yeah.
You call Kevin down in Vigo County, he'll tell you the same thing, or Katie in Park County, Eric up in Tippecanoe. They will all tell you that the supply and demand is just out of balance right now. And since we have such a high demand and very little supply, yeah, it's a bidding war.
The
Material prices going up, it's gonna
assessment.
be more lopsided.
Well, we haven't even approached that one yet. When the state adjusts the depreciation tables, that will affect the building cost. And then, we're liable to see a bump from that too.
I was going to say, the manuals now, I used to tell people it was always on file in the public library, has to have the assessment manual. It's online now, along with, there's a cost location multiplier that once you do the stuff in the manual, like Vermilion's is 92% compared to other counties that's 100%. So a little change if they take the cost location up by 1%.
Well, and what that does is, so Carmel is supposed to be the nicest area in the state, correct? I mean, that's...
Most expensive.
Yes. Okay, so if you take a house that's built in Carmel and you put it in Vermilion County, it still should assess the same. The difference is going to be that location multiplier.
No.
So that's what differentiates us from any other county. Of course, several other counties can have be at 92% too.
We're at 92, Delaware's at 88.
So your advice to people, if they have questions, come in and sit and talk with you?
Yes, yes.
Don't go
I
after-
can't stress it enough, and do not wait until after June 15th, because after that time, we're locked and loaded, and
Well, I
I'm,
was early when I
and last year there was a huge influx. I had a lot of appraisals, or appeals,
So explain
excuse
that
me.
date versus your tax statement in the spring comes out when, and you have X date to file your complaint before it's, what is the deadlines in there?
The tax bill, you'd have to ask Florinda. I think it's 15 days notice is all she has to give. I have to get my notice of assessment out on or before April 29th. That allows the taxpayer 45 days to call me and say what happened, what's going on. So every year, it used to just be 45 days from whenever we sent those notices out, but it became too confusing if you own properties in several different counties, so you had to have a really good assistant to keep you in line with, okay, I gotta get this appeal filed here and this one over here. So the state stepped in and said, nope, get those notices out by the end of April. That way, then the deadline is June 15th of every year. So, until
One thing
then.
I think might be helpful, I know when you go online, you can look at your assessment, or the paperwork anyway on it, but it blanks out a number of those line items that the notes and all the categories and classes and so forth at the bottom of it when you print that out.
Are you talking the property record card?
Uh-huh.
I've talked to my vendor about that, and so I can go one or two ways, and I'm going to try doing the PDF version this year. If I leave it as it is, then the ownership will change as people buy and sell property. So you will always have an accurate name record off the GIS when you download the record card.
Mm-hmm.
If I do a PDF, that name's going to stay there until next year. So if I do the PDF, then you get to see everything that I see. It's not the grayed out areas.
What's the best?
Well, I'm going to try the PDF because I've had a lot of feedback from taxpayers saying that they wish that they had my copy. And anybody can have my copy. You just need to call us and tell us. We'll print and send and email.
So what's the problem when you do the PDF? It just shows like, I bought the house from Tim, so it shows Tim's name on it still?
Well, and it'll show you not necessarily the math on how to read the line items, but it'll show you the depreciation, the size, the grade, the condition. Because I don't use that, I can't say that I'm real familiar. I just know that a lot of the stuff that we see daily is blacked out.
You also have a Facebook page that you put a lot of information
Yes, we
on.
do, and I put that on my notice of assessments last year and asked people to follow. My only request is don't be mean, and I absolutely do not want any politics.
Do you put it on our website, the county website? Have you?
The Facebook page?
No.
The website.
Kylie Yoakum has been tremendous help. In fact, we need to circle back to her. Kylie has helped me with my page there on the county website, and we have links to make it, I think, way easier for everybody to follow. The common forms that you would get from me, I give you tips to how to file an appeal, what kind of stuff you.
So it's working?
I think it's pretty good.
Good.
I think it's pretty good.
Trying to get everybody to use that website for their offices.
That's the challenge.
So
Well, if it wasn't for Kylie.
I heard it's difficult, or not the easiest to use. I tried to get on it the other day, and either I had the wrong password or something. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm not getting
I
in.
just need extra time. Yeah, time would be good.
Did you find it easy after you had some instruction?
Mm-mm.
Still difficult?
No, it's best just to, well, we'll circle back real quick here. I think that you all need to consider finding money to help to pay Kylie to help the office holders develop their webpage. Just because she's here in the building, because she's like a sponge. I mean, she just picks this stuff right up and she can just go with it.
I don't think she will be able to when she's up in the clerk's office.
Ooh, I can hear you.
I don't believe she'll have time when she's up in the clerk's office. Once she's trained, I don't think she'll have the time.
Yeah,
Well, I think you make a good point, though.
There
that
needs to be
we're-
someone.
We're
Yep.
missing a link in there to be able to make all this work well, so. An IT link or whatever you wanna call it.
Anybody else got any questions? Thank you for answering those questions. I think the more, we like different office holders come in here and, you know, this is your time where the news is here and you get some word out about your office and how it works, so.
Well, I can't
Appreciate it.
stress enough, anytime anybody has a question, come and see us.
We talked about people always confuse the assessor with the taxes, though it's a part of it. Who's best to talk to that, our auditor or our treasurer?
About what?
How the tax comes about after she does her work and what
Treasurer.
happens after she's
The
done.
treasurer only collects the money. We do all the calculations.
So we should have the
In the
auditor
yard
speak
office.
next about taxes.
If, I might just throw this in, if you go to my Facebook page, the Assessor Facebook page, there's a video that is so cool. If you watch that, it will explain a lot of what we do, why we do what we do, and what our job is, how our job influences how that tax bill comes out.
Could you explain a little bit further? You got a certain level of appraisal, right? There's level 1, 2, or whatever the 8 designations are. At what point are you at this now?
I'm a level 3.
And there's how many, level 4 is the last one?
No, level 3 is the last one.
Okay, so you're at the highest level. And you do continuing education on this type
Yes.
every year, right?
Yes.
So we're pretty good to have you on our assessor's role, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
And I
I'd like
appreciate
to
you
thank.
keeping up on it and answering my questions on other matters. I appreciate that too.
John, do you have any questions for her?
He was easy, because we can, I like to do a lot through email, and that's how he and I were able to correspond. It just makes it simpler. Then we all have a digital footprint of what was said, and, but, you know, I'm good with face-to-face too. My staff
That's the way it
is,
works. It works better when people come in and talk.
Angie's working on her level 3, she's my first deputy, and Joni's working on her level 2.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's excellent.
More knowledge is power.
Sure.
And the more knowledge we have, the
Well, you feed off each other too, so.
the taxpayers will benefit. So.
Anybody else got any questions? I'm gonna let you get out of here. Anybody else? Comments?
We should do that first.
That was good.
Yeah, that's
Very
what I mean, we
educational.
should do that first. Instead of
You might have to come back and do that again. At the beginning of the meeting, so everybody can hear it.
It's on record.
Okay. Anybody else? This is your going once, going twice.
Tim, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? No discussion.
Andy, I got anything to sign or am I good?
Too late!
Good? All right.
That's been good.
Andy's got this thing done, you sign early now, I
You gotta
like it.
sign her contract.